But Iran is not a military superpower either, and we're seeing the vast majority of drones and missiles being shot down by air defenses. I mean, surely Iran cannot win a military war and therefore has to go for some other kind of strategy in coming to a settlement.
Iran will defeat the United States. Time will tell. And our drones that are being fired are very old drones. Our missiles that are being fired are very old missiles. They're very inexpensive. And Americans are using up very expensive air defense systems. The Iranians know exactly what they're doing. We haven't even begun using our latest technology, and most of Iran's underground bases have not even been used yet. They have not even been opened up for operation. The Iranians have been planning for this day ever since the invasion of Iraq. They knew that at some point the Epstein regime will go after Iran, and therefore they've been preparing themselves for many years.
For those of you who didn't understand the reference with Epstein, it's pretty much that the Israelis are a bunch of pedophiles, The Israelis and all the politicians, controlled politicians in the US, they're all a bunch of pedophiles. And, the Israelis, it's been proven time and time again that they're a bunch of rapists. It's a national sport for them. So, I mean, I want everybody to scream it everywhere, I want everybody to take the mic and take the camera and keep repeating it. The Israelis are a bunch of rapists, and it's a national sport for them. They celebrated on a talk show a rapist. They celebrate that guy. And they went to the street and protested in mass for the release of this guy.
Fighting for our homeland sovereignty and our independence.
What percentage of Iran's missile stocks remain?
The vast.
Look at this dude who's doing the interview from Tel Aviv. He's trying to gather some. What is he trying to do exactly? I mean, he's not really silly. I mean, that's his technique, trying to portray himself as being innocently asking and gather information, or what?
Majority.
Because after last year's war, it was estimated that Iran had used up around 40% of its missiles. Are you saying that was replenished in the last few months?
Yeah, that's clearly propaganda. I mean, they've been preparing their military for 20 years for this exact moment, and you think in less than 12 days they're gonna deplete 40% of their stock when they have an industry capable of creating their own supplies of weapons. They're gonna lose 40% in less than 2 weeks. I mean, that's such low level and stupid propaganda. I mean, there is only branded people who can believe that.
Numbers were always fake. Those numbers are provided by the Israeli regime to the media in order to convince foolish Americans that war against Iran is simple. This war was supposed to end in a day or two. The 12-day war was supposed to bring Iran down like a house of cards. That failed, this failed, and now the United States will have to pay the price. And if the United States escalates, that will mean that the most sensitive region in the world, the Persian Gulf, where a quarter of the world's energy comes from, everything could be destroyed. And if that happens, it doesn't even matter if the Strait of Hormuz is open or closed, because there will be no oil or gas, and there will be no tankers. For Iran, this is a fight for survival. For the United States, this is a war of choice.
Isn't the truth, though, that a lot of Iranian people want to see this government toppled? We saw tens of thousands taking to the streets just weeks.
Whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is if the power at be will let themselves be toppled or not, and they won't let themselves go away that easily. So, I mean, when it's time for war, it doesn't really matter what the people want, so it's a foolish question that have no basis in reality,
Weeks ago, and many thousands of people were killed by the security forces. So public opinion is divided.
ISIS is killing their own people in the street too, their own citizens. It's kind of funny that ISIS is supposed to deport illegals, but they're killing their own citizens. And how many people went to the street to protest? I mean, people are always protesting the US government. I guess that's an excuse to go and invade the US, right?
On this.
Don't believe your propaganda. That's silly.
Well,
I've already had an interview. I've already spoken with your colleague. Though the people who were killed, 3,117 people were killed, hundreds were police officers and people who were patrolling the streets as volunteers, and hundreds of others were ordinary people that were murdered by these militants and these terrorists who were using weapons to kill. In your country, if they kill a single police officer, there'll be outrage. Here, they killed hundreds, including the volunteers. So this was no peaceful protest. And you know quite well, because I know you follow these things. In Iran, on February the 12th, we had millions of people on the streets of Tehran and tens of millions across the country rallying against the rioters. And on February the 11th, on the 47th anniversary of the revolution, we had millions of people again on the streets of Tehran and tens of millions across the country. And as we're speaking,
And if I was an Iranian, I would join these people.
across the country, as we're speaking now, you have millions of people in the streets of Tehran under bombardment, and in other cities under bombardment, commemorating the martyr Ayatollah Khamenei. So
What about the competence, though, of your security apparatus? I mean, after the killing of the Ayatollah with so many senior figures, we have now seen that, again, the clerics have met in the Assembly of Experts building in Qom, and that has also been bombed. I mean, does it not strike you as very odd that senior Iranian figures are still meeting in known places where they can be targeted?
no, no one was in that building. Why
I think that's like the only good question he asked so far.
do you believe this nonsense? And senior military figures, except for in the office of the leader, a number of people who were killed, no one else was killed. And Ayatollah Khamenei said that I'm going to remain in my house because many people who are struggling cannot leave their homes. And I will stay here till the end because of these people. And he stayed and he was martyred.